Everybody be cool. You be cool.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Low profile. You understand the meaning of the words low profile?
Sure.
Two of America's most dangerous criminals have taken hostages.
What is this? It's called a punch. I'm going to ask you one question, and all I want is a yes or no answer. Do you want to live through this?
Yes. Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
One night is all that stands between them and freedom.
This is my kind of place.
But it's going to be one hell of a night.
We might be in trouble. We have a bunch of fucking vampires out there trying to get in here and suck our fucking blood.
Now, their only chance is to fight back.
Oh, yeah!
Harvey Keitel, George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, Juliette Lewis.
Welcome to slavery.
No, thanks. I already had a wife.
From dusk till dawn.
Be cool. You be cool. We're about to talk from dusk to dawn. Rudy's here. Rob Lee is here. This is Let's Watch It Again.
Hey, what's up?
So yeah, welcome to the podcast, Cats and Kittens, Boys and Girls. I am Rob Lee, and with me on this podcast, we're reviewing From Dusk Till Dawn. With me, as always, for this particular type of thing, because it's about brothers, is my brother, Rudo, the big Rude.
Yes, how y'all doing?
Medium-sized Rudy.
Yeah.
We're both fresh, blazed up, haircuts. We look like the same dude right now. So yeah. This movie, Dusk to Dawn, it's great. It's a B movie, right? But it knows it's a B movie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you the rundown real quick, and we'll get into some of our favorite scenes. I'll give you little factoids and all of that good stuff, and then we'll answer some questions. How's that sound?
That sound good.
All right. So the synopsis for this movie, ready? You know it. We both watched it recently.
Yes.
Two criminals and their hostages unknowingly seek temporary refuge in a truck stop populated by vampires with chaotic results. From Dusk to Dawn. So what do you think? Does that eloquently cover what this movie is about?
Yes.
Fair. So this movie was released in January 19th, 1996. So this is its 25th anniversary. This is why one of the reasons we're covering it. And it met with mostly positive critical acclaim. There's a lot of things that don't age well in this movie, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So giving you the rundown. This is Robert Rodriguez's third movie he directed.
At the time?
Yeah. Can you name the previous two? One you should know.
Desperado.
Can you name the year?
95?
Yeah, you're doing good so far.
I can't name.
What's the precursor to Desperado?
Once Upon a Time in Mexico? No.
No. That came out in 2005. This is El Mariachi, 1992.
Yeah.
That was his debut movie.
Who starred in it?
I don't remember.
So was that would have been a sequel to?
That was kind of the first
prequel?
in this type of story.
All right.
So if you wanted to look at the kind of the Mexican crime like movies, what have you, that mythology, you had El Mariachi, Desperado, then Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That would be your three pack.
All right.
This movie stars George Clooney. I'm going to say that again. This movie stars George Clooney. And I think at this point, George is trying to transition into a movie star, right? So at this juncture in his career, he was mostly known for just being on ER and being on as a television actor, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you know what movie he got after this? It's going to be hard.
No.
Because it's not a good movie.
No.
He was Batman after this. This was a year before Batman.
Really?
Yeah, and Robin. Yeah.
Oh.
Remember, Batman and Robin was 97.
I didn't know he started out as an action star. I thought it would have been like a love story or something.
And here's the wild thing. He's not been this guy since. Oh, he was in one of those like love movies the same year too. So yeah, but he's not been this guy since in the movie.
Right.
I mean, he was fucking great in this movie.
He was he definitely was.
So Quentin Tarantino's also in it, and we got some issues here. At this point, he done and appeared in both of the movies that he's directed. He wrote this, by the way. He wrote this movie.
Didn't know that.
So he wrote it, and him and Robert Rodriguez combined their efforts on it. So the story, one is credited for the story, but Tarantino is credited for the screenplay, and Rodriguez is the director of the movie.
Okay.
So Tarantino is also kind of like the second guy in it for like that first, let's say, hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know what movies that Tarantino wrote and directed before this?
Did he do Reservoir Dogs?
That was his first movie in 1992. The other one is the one that he got the big nut off of. That's the one that's like he's arrived.
Pulp Fiction?
Yes. And that was in 94.
I actually didn't know he directed. No.
So this was, from what I read, his first paid writing job from Dusk to Dawn.
For real?
And nobody wanted to direct it. So he hit up his mans. It was like, yo, you got me? So also in this, Harvey Keitel is in this. And you know who Harvey Keitel is.
Yes.
Can you name another movie he was in? He was Winston Wolfe in Pulp Fiction. And he was the lead guy in Reservoir Dogs.
I don't think I've seen Reservoir Dogs.
You should watch it. It's worth your attention.
I keep hearing it's really good.
You should watch it. Juliette Lewis is also in it. You know her.
That's the daughter?
Yeah. Now she was also in, I believe, I don't know if he wrote it or directed. No, Oliver Stone directed it. He was in. She was in. What's the name of the Natural Born Killers?
Was the son in the movie a dub it?
Yes. They say this. Yes.
They said it in the movie?
Yeah. Right after some wildly racist bullshit happens.
I must have missed that part. Then.
I'll tell you what he says. There are cameos in this movie. Salma Hayek, because she's in it for 5 minutes. And I think it's a lot of green screen around her. I don't think she was on set. And we got some stuff to say about that, too. Cheech Marin is in 3 roles.
Some of them are iconic roles. They're all funny.
Danny Trejo's in it. He's the bartender.
And fun fact, he appeared in all 3 movies.
All 3, what movies?
That's the Dawn movies.
Was he?
Yes. The only person.
Was he on the show, though?
No.
He was.
Really? I haven't seen the show.
See?
You seen the show?
No, I watched a few episodes. It was on. So put it this way.
When year that came out?
This was, I think, 2014 through 16. Valderrama was in it, and it has the brothers. It's basically an extension of,
Oh, I'm gonna have to find that.
And Robert Patrick is the Harvey Keitel character.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. Fred Williamson is in it. And Tom Savini. You may not remember Tom Savini, but he's a special effects wizard, and he was Sex Machine. Jake Busey plays Sex Machine in the show, by the way.
Speaking of the gun.
The dick gun? That pops up in a suitcase in another movie later. I think it was like Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That same gun pops up in a suitcase. So it just shows it's in the same universe?
Yeah.
So Fred Williamson, you know Fred the Hammer Williamson, right? Mm-hmm. Original Gangsters came out the same year. See, your boys got the factoids.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so
which one came out first?
I think this one was done in 95 and it was released because of how early it was released, and it was in January 96, so that means it was done in 95.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. I want to talk about some things that
it seemed like a summer movie. That would be a summer movie.
So they creeped it through. Remember during this time they creeped movies through. So
yeah, because January you could.
So this movie opened at a #1 spot in January, by the way. It made $10.2 million at open. And what would that be in 2021 dollars? That's just under $17 million. That's an opening for January for a rated R. They positioned it as a heist movie.
It was not a heist movie.
But that's the marketing, though.
Yeah, it started off like that.
We'll get into that. It went on to gross almost 26 million, which would be about 43 million in 2021 dollars.
What was the budget?
The budget, let me see, because I didn't look at that. They may not have listed it. The budget for this film was...
It shouldn't be too high.
It's hard to say. It has some CGI in it. Not good CGI.
Yeah.
So the budget was 19. The budget was 19. But overall, let's see. So domestically, now I didn't mention internationally because it's also in Mexico and all of that. It made about $60 million in that year's money.
Okay.
So if you're looking at 19, and if it costs 19, because you got to pay Clooney, you got to pay for the special effects, you got to pay Harvey Keitel. If it cost 19 and it made 59, it made 3 times what it cost.
You think it's a cult classic?
Yeah, it's absolutely a cult classic. So, we talked about earlier, this spawned numerous sequels and a series, but what movies came out around the same time as this to talk about how shitty January of 96 may have been? Both of these movies we've seen, I think. One of them I know we've seen. One of them, Don't Be a Menace to South Central or Drinking Your Juice in the Hood came out, I think, the same week. And, that came out the week before, and Biodome came out the same week.
Oh, what the hell was going on in 90?
But the thing is, you would use January as the month to get out movies.
Get movies over, yeah. So, did all of them do numbers?
Fuck no. What are you talking about? No.
I'm saying it was...
No. This was a success. This was a successful movie. They don't want the dog shit. Let's see. What did Biodome make? Because it wasn't good. I don't.
Yeah, it didn't age well because I can't even watch that now.
It didn't work then. Biodome had a budget of 8.5, and that came out the week before. So Don't Be a Menace came out the same week. Biodome came out in January 12th, 96. It cost 9. It made 13. And we don't count budget. We don't count the marketing budget, so it didn't do as well.
What's it called? They always gonna have some funny movies. So,
I mean, it wasn't good. Like, can we just call it what it was?
Message.
Stop. So put it in this way: Don't Be a Menace, which came out. Actually, I was wrong. Both of those came out on
the week before?
January 12th. So they were in theaters when From Dusk to Dawn came out. So this is kind of the precursor to spoofs, and maybe we could have fucking covered this too because I fucking like this movie. So Don't Be a Menace cost $3.8 million to make. It made $21 million. So it did numbers for it being a small quote unquote black release. But back to From Dusk to Dawn. Here's some trivia, and then we'll talk about what didn't work and what worked in the movie, and then we'll get into some of our favorite scenes. How's that sound?
Okay.
So we talked about Salma Hayek being like before Mike because she's delicious in the movie and she's great. Satana Pandemonium or Satanico Pandemonium. That's who she is in the movie. And she has a real fear of snakes.
Real life?
Yes. What is she doing in her one scene, Rudy?
Got the snake wrapped around.
She is doing the pre-Britney
dance.
Spears, my guy. I'm a slave. She's doing that. So she had a fear of snakes. She refused to be near them. Naturally, when she read the script, she knew that her phobia would prevent her from taking part. So Robert Rodriguez conned her into thinking that Madonna was going to be cast into the role, and she spent 2 months with therapists to overcome her fear of snakes so she can get the role.
Oh, wow.
My man finessed it. Just imagine if Madonna was in that role. Dress you up in my skin. She's wearing like snake skin and shit.
It would have been funny.
I mean, she's a vampire now.
Would have done more.
My God, she's a vampire now.
Yeah, I haven't seen her.
She's fucking young dudes. It's all good.
Yeah.
Live your life. Before Clooney was cast, numerous actors were considered to the role of Seth the Gecko. You forget that they're their names, don't you? Their names are the Gecko brothers.
Yeah.
So, name other brothers from. You probably won't be able to do it, but I'll help you. Name other brothers from the Tarantino verse. They're in different movies. They're not in the movie together, but they were going to be in the movie together.
Yeah, I don't know.
Think about where the Raiders play.
L.A., Oakland. Las Vegas.
Yeah, the Vega brothers. Tarantino. In Pope, you didn't see fucking Reservoir Dogs. So Michael Madsen in Reservoir Dogs, he's one Vega brother. And he's playing Mr. Blonde, I believe. And in Pulp Fiction, Vinny, John Travolta, is the other brother. They were going to do a movie together.
Wow.
That's why it's the connected universe and shit. So Clooney was considered for the role of Seth Gecko, so multiple people were considered before him. Here's the people that were considered before him.
It's about to be amazing. I know it is.
Antonio Banderas. Steve Buscemi, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, John Travolta, Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum, James Woods, and lastly, Robert De Niro. All passed because they had scheduling conflicts. The only one to outright decline was John Travolta because he was not interested in doing a vampire movie and instead of doing Pulp Fiction. So I think they were filming them around the same time.
Okay.
So remember,
Who do you think would have worked though? Out of all them,
I think they got it right.
yeah.
Because think about who in this group
Little
could
funny.
put it. No, not even a funny thing. Remember, Tarantino's relatively tall,
Yeah,
so who could make him look like a bitch ass? Maybe De Niro, but you couldn't afford him.
yeah. At that time, yeah.
Despite him being like Jackie Brown that following year. You see what I'm saying? Antonio Banderas maybe, but then they're not brothers in my mind.
Right.
They have to look vaguely similar but different because George Clooney looks Greek in this movie.
He did.
He looks dark as shit. So Buscemi wouldn't have worked. Maybe Michael Madsen, but the appeal. You know what? Jeff Goldblum, but it would have been a turn because remember Jeff Goldblum was in like what Deep Cover. He was playing like a rough dude. Mm-hmm. So maybe Jeff Goldblum. I would have been for that Jeff Goldblum. So you know about so in comics, right? They had this like code that you couldn't show certain things in comics.
Right.
You couldn't show demons, you couldn't show vampires. You had to find a way to creatively get it over. So that's what he did in this movie. So when they're killing these vampires, notice the vampire's blood is not red.
Right.
They had to make the blood green so they can get it past censors. Because if it was just a movie that came out during this time, you're already on the tightrope of getting this movie out there. And fucking like, all right, I'm going to put this out there in January. We got Clooney attached. Tell me more. Tarantino's a rapist.
We got Salma Hayek.
We got Salma Hayek.
She
We say a lot of slurs in this movie. We call Juliette Lewis apple pie pussy. I don't know if we could fund this. So what can you give us back? We'll make the blood green. You got it. They're Slimer. It's fine. Tarantino was originally going to direct the movie, but decided not to, so he could focus more on the screenplay, and so saying that he wrote the screenplay and the role of Richard Gecko because he's in the movie for like the first like half. George Clooney was paid how much for this movie? It wasn't a lot. In terms of you're probably thinking of George Clooney as the movie actor, but not the TV actor. So think about it in that terms. Was he paid over $1 million or less than $1 million?
Less than $1 million?
He is paid $250,000 to appear in the movie, and he's the star of the movie.
Yo, he did a good ass role in that movie.
Yes. This was Tarantino's first paid writing gig, and he was paid $1,500. $1,500 for the script. Tarantino wrote the script after winning an Oscar for Pulp Fiction. So this was his follow-up. He's like, yo, I'm going to do vampires and shit. Here we go. Let's get it. All right. Now, this is the thing I like to put in there when you see violent movies such as this. What do you think the body count for this movie is? You probably already have a number in mind. Was it more or less than 100 people? Well, 100 characters.
Less.
It was 122 characters.
Don't seem like it.
Think about how many vampires died when they...
Oh, yeah. At the bar, that was mostly all the people.
And I'll say real quick, because I think you'll like this if you remember the dialogue in the movie, because the dialogue is key in this movie. It's problematic in parts. We'll talk about one in a second. But this podcast with me and Rudy is sponsored by some mean mother scooters. That's a line that is in that movie. Some mean mother scooters. So I'm talking about what works and what doesn't work. So let's go back up. Let's see. This is what I like, and you tell me if you like it as well, and I'll tell you what I don't like, and you chime in as well. So I'm going to give you everything I like and then give you everything I didn't like.
Okay.
How's that sound? So what I like George Clooney in the movie. He's great. He's fire. I like Cheech in the movie. I think you already have established this.
I like all three roles.
He was creepy as shit as the border guy. He's like, she's got going on here. She's like, get the fuck out. Sitting there taking a wild piss and shit. I like the fact that it knows it's a B movie.
Yeah.
Because you have like blaxploitation people in the movie. You have fucking Fred Williamson in there, basically being the old man, just being dookie and shit. Yeah, so I killed all these Viet Cong, right? I was cutting out niggas' hearts.
Do you think when they was speaking of the bar, you think when they was cutting the food up, that was him?
Cutting what food up?
You know, they had, he was like, y'all got food here.
Oh, yeah, that's the Mexico. Yeah.
You think that was him?
I think, it's hard to say because I don't know if they were cannibals, but maybe. I didn't see a lot of people eating food, though. But I will say it seemed when Salma Hayek's character got triggered when she seen the blood coming out of Richie's hand after he got stabbed, that triggered this whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I think that was the plan, that they were going to kind of finesse it for a little while, but ultimately they were going to slaughter these fuckers.
Get everybody drunk.
Yeah, blood tastes better then. The movie's a bait and switch, and I like that. You come in the first, So, like I said earlier, like before, when me and you were talking earlier, that this movie is what in the first half?
It's them getting out. Did they break out of prison?
No. It's a heist movie, that first half.
Them robbing banks or...
Getting to Mexico.
Yeah, getting to Mexico, trying to get away.
That's the first 40 minutes of the movie. And when they get past the border, fucking turns into a different dude. We fucking did it, guys. Let's get it. It's like, yeah, we're going here. That's like an episode of a show.
Yeah.
Because it's literally 40 minutes and you have all the terrible shit that happens, right? And we'll cover some of that in some of our favorite scenes in the movie. But yeah. Another thing I like in there is the band. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Especially when they turned into vampires. Fuck everybody, good night. It's fire. And literally at one point, they're playing the dude's body as a guitar. Mm-hmm. And just when they play, when Salma Hayek comes out there, that song is fucking killer. I want to talk about, so I like Frost and Sex Machine. So not too many people realize that Fred Williams' character's name is Frost.
I didn't know that.
See? And he's kind of in the movie, but you barely get to hear, like, when he's doing his story about how he killed all the Viet Cong, you're getting different pieces of it, but not the full story. So that's funny to me. Yeah, little bits of yellow flesh were all over my bayonet. I was like, why am I talking to my father right now? What is happening? So Sex Machine was great. And when they're tag teaming, right, it's fire.
Yeah.
Because they're just slamming people on fucking tables, using them as stakes. And the total number of titties in this movie is great too. Cross shotguns. I also like those. When what was his name? Jacob? When he's like using a shotgun, shotgun cross. It's like, yeah. Special effects.
Bad.
I think they were fine for 96.
Oh yeah.
Think about it, you're looking at almost 30 years of Marvel and fucking shit like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, for special effects being what they were, because you had Tom Savini and shit, they were practical. So remember when they were melting, it was just, ew, this is gross. Now, the visual effects, that's different.
Yeah, the visual effects is bad.
They weren't great. Like when the bats flew in there, it's like, all right. But when you see Fred Williamson looking gross, when it's like, "Rah!" That shit was good. You know, just people in rubber masks. All right. That's the stuff I like. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that's the stuff I like too.
I want to shout out RVs as well. I mean,
that was
I wouldn't mind getting an RV and taking a road trip. All right, here we go. Here's the things I didn't like. I hated Scott. That was the son, and it had that wild racist line in the beginning. It's like, yeah, tell the Jap to get over here. And I was like, the Jap to get over here. And when what's the name? When Harvey Keitel, when Jacob was like, well, he's not Japanese, he's Chinese. He's like, oh, big difference. I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, no, he's adopted. Because he's like, what the fuck are you talking about here? He's like, he's your son? So he's adopted. He's like, oh, that's what's happening. The movie's problematic. The rapey stuff, I'm not a fan of. In the beginning, they say something about a bunch of retards or something. And I was like, yo, this is a bit rough. But it's very much a movie from the mid-90s in terms of certain things that are written that you wouldn't be able to do really now.
Say now, yeah.
They called Cheech Marin's, they called him a group of spics and shit like that. He's like, these not some like low-level spics. It's just like, nigga. And Quentin Tarantino's had a history of working that type of dialogue in it. None of the characters are good people. So I think that's the thing to take into account. Right. So if they're not good people, they're not going to be saying PC things.
Why did Harvey Keitel leave the church?
His wife had cancer and died, and he lost faith. And that's the whole conversation in the RV.
Got it.
Again, like I said, it feels like two different movies.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a positive and a negative. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a positive in some ways, but a negative in that, tonally speaking, you get certain things that you're fine with a horror movie, but in that first 40 minutes, it's like a tightly done like heist movie that has all of the heist things, the shootouts, the dialogue, the witty repartee, all of that shit. But when you get to the horror movie, you get some of the tropes and some of the things that don't quite make sense.
Right.
Now this was one that was my biggest issue. Actually, I have three things left. One of my biggest issues was timing. This is what I mean by the timing.
Okay.
Remember when Richie changed?
Yeah.
Remember when Sex Machine changed?
Yeah.
Remember when Frost changed? Mm-hmm. Remember when Jacob had to change? Notice how Jacob was like, yeah, it might be an hour before I change. I was like, Frost changed immediately.
I didn't get that either.
Fucking everybody seemed like they were changing closer. I was like, maybe there's some fan wink shit here where depending on who you were bit by. But I was like, y'all didn't do that. Y'all didn't show that in this movie. Mm-hmm. All I know is literally Harvey Keitel was like, I want to be in this movie a little bit longer before I turn into a vampire.
Right.
So that's a little bit of an issue there because he said, yeah, we got about an hour. I was like, hold on. Hold the fuck up. And I didn't know that if you get bit by a vampire, you turn into a vampire. I thought that was zombies. Right?
I thought when you got just, I don't know how it works.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's zombie shit. Because when Sex Machine gets bit, it's funny when he changes. He's like, eh? He's like, he has like the tooth popping out, and then he turns to a rat later.
He changed quick as I don't know what, because
but Frost changed quicker than anybody else.
Yeah.
He's like, this motherfucker bit me.
Quick as I don't know what. So yeah, I didn't get it either. Or maybe because they had, I don't know, did drink in that system?
Maybe the drink, maybe. That's fair.
That's the only thing I think of.
But Tarantino turned later, and he was drinking too. He drunk off of her foot at one point, because Tarantino likes feet.
Yeah.
He drank off of her foot, my guy.
But after he got, when he got bit, he kind of changed, like.
After everyone was dead, after they fought a bunch of motherfuckers, it wasn't immediate.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Also,
it wasn't.
I got a question before we get into the other things that stink in it. No, I'm going to hit these real quick, and then I'll get to the question. Fuck Richie. Can I just say fuck Richie?
Yeah.
Because he rapes and kills the chick or what have you. Something's off in him mentally, too.
Yeah.
Because, I laughed when she was like, yeah, Richie, why don't you eat my pussy for me? He's like, I'm happy to do that for you. I was like, excuse me? And I was like, how old is she supposed to be? You know, Juliette Lewis like 25 or something when they're filming the movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, how old is this character supposed to be? This feels very wrong. You can leave him in Texas to die.
Right.
I mean, I have a brother.
Because technically, he the one at the beginning of the movie. He the one that caused.
He caused all this shit. You piece of fucking. He shot the cop.
Yeah, like
he blickied this nigga off.
It was like he was just getting them in this shit. Like that's probably how it went. He got them in the hell of shit.
I mean, aside from like, I'll put it this way: you're not Richie. If anybody in this movie, you're Jacob. You following me?
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm Seth.
Yeah.
And because when he was like, just say I fucked up, Richie. He just say I fucked up, Seth. Just fucking say I fucking fucked up. I was like, all right. I was like, that sounds about all right. He had to slap him around. Then when he punched him, he was like, yeah, you fell out, man. You hit your head. Yeah. He's like, my fucking glasses are broke.
Here, man.
He sounded like somebody we know. Don't say any names. Don't say any names. You know another thing that stunk in this movie, and that's the last thing I have? Clooney's tattoo was terrible.
On his neck? Yeah.
It ran from his neck down to his arm. That was a fucking sleeve, my guy. It was the Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, it was.
What was he wearing, by the way? He had like a waistcoat on with a wife beater and a jacket. I was like, were you in a band? Were you like in El Mariachi? That another connected thing we don't know about?
He was hot shit.
Yes. And his bowl cut aged well though, because that shit was kind of fire to see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any other thing in that vein of stuff that you didn't think worked well, that you didn't like, that you was like, yeah, I don't want that in the movie.
The son, yeah.
You didn't. Do you want to recast, or do you just not like the character?
I could have wanted to recast, like
because he's just there to die.
Yeah,
he adds nothing. Now, granted, he does have to kill his father.
They ate the shit out of him.
He does have to kill his father, though.
Yeah,
but he kind of doesn't. But he does hit him with the wild holy water condom because that's what they were.
Yeah.
What was your favorite weapon?
The crossbow gun, but the penis gun. It worked to a certain extent.
The crossbow gun?
I mean,
the shotgun crossbow?
Yeah, that worked.
You know mine's is the drill. With the big stake in it?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's using like it's a dick at one point. Mm-hmm. So there's a line from it, right? I recommend that you watch Reservoir Dogs because it's lines in it. So it's a part where Clooney is like, all right, Ramblers, let's get rambling. That's the beginning of Reservoir Dogs. When they do the whole after the tip scene. All right, so let's talk about some of our favorite scenes because we've kind of gotten through a lot in this so far. This has been going well. So let's talk about our favorite scenes in the movie. So let's see. I want to nominate, and maybe you'll agree. You give me the thumbs up if you agree or not. I think that's how we play it.
Okay.
And if you have anything, we'll work it in. I think the movie starts off really strong.
Yes.
The gas attendant thing, that whole fucking situation.
You okay? He shot me in the fucking hand! I told you he said help us! I never said help us! Well, it doesn't matter now because you got about 2 fucking seconds to live.
It's great. It has everything you want in there. You have them just being pieces of shit. Mm-hmm. And you see the dynamic between the two brothers because it's about brothers. And you definitely see like it's like Oz in some sense, right? Mm-hmm. And you know in what way I mean. Because what was the two brothers? What are the Irish brothers and shit?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The one brother who probably is the actual murderer. The other one's just like, I robbed banks.
Right.
You got shit that's off.
Which one of them was the oldest?
In what? Oz?
No.
You know the oldest.
Seth.
Is. Yes. He's the oldest in every way. But then because he's got to get his shitty little brother out of fucking trouble.
Oh yeah.
And what did he say? I am a fucking bank robber. All of this shit I do not do. And I was just like, this is a conversation I've had before. Right? I do not do this. I was like, I am a piece of shit, but in this specific way. And he says the kind of the same thing at the end when Julia Lewis like, you want some company, Seth? While she's like twirling her like hair or whatever. He's like, I'm a motherfucker, but I'm not this motherfucker. So strong start, it's good. Another thing that I like is it's about brothers. Seth lays out his rules, and he's like, Mr. 44 can run faster than you.
Rule number 1, no noise, no questions. If you make a noise, Mr. 44 makes a noise.
So don't run. When he's talking to like the chick that eventually, Richie piece of shit ass, the chick that he had hostage, like Dick Cankles, hey, come in here and watch cartoons with me. I was like, I hate this nigga. Because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And remember, we watched this movie as a kid.
Yeah.
As kids.
Yeah.
And
that scene.
They didn't show anything, so that may be another cut, right? But you just see, and I'm sure you've been in this scenario more from, like, because you're a younger brother, but more so from maybe a dad perspective where some bullshit you see happen and you're like, I'm going to kill everyone in here. And you're like, I'm trying to figure it out. And you just see him get so pissed. He was like, she turned to a completely different person when you left. He's like her, who was terrified, her. And he's like, I don't do this. I'm a bank robber. And he like yoked his big ass up because Tarantino's bigger than him. So you definitely see the older brother, little brother dynamic there. Let's see, what is this sequence? So the sequence when they go to when they first get to Mexico, when they get past the border guard and all of that shit, who's the second that's the first appearance of Cheech.
Yes.
And he's just a creepy piece of shit. All the dudes in it are terrible. Can we just talk about that? It's not one redeemable dude. So when we get to the titty twister,
that's an excellent name.
that's that's aged very well. But Shea Pussy is his name, by the way. That's Cheech again. We get bookended by Cheech. I feel like it's just a different planet. I think when we get to Mexico, Cheech is just everywhere. Yeah. I think everybody is Cheech in Mexico. Everything that he said when he's like, we got new flavor pussy, we got cold pussy, we got hot pussy, we got stinky pussy.
All right, pussy, come on in, pussy lovers. Here at the Titty Twister, we're slashing pussy in half. Give us an upper on our best selection of pussy. This is a pussy blowout. All right, we got white pussy, black pussy, Spanish pussy, yellow pussy. We got hot pussy, cold pussy. We got wet pussy. We got smelly pussy. We got hairy pussy, bloody pussy. We got snapping pussy. We got silk pussy, velvet pussy, nalga hide pussy. We even got horse pussy, dog pussy. Chicken pussy, come on, you want pussy? Come on in, pussy lovers. If we don't got it, you don't want it. Come on in, pussy lovers.
You don't like stinky pussy? We talking about cats. What you talking about?
Got wolf pussy.
What? All that's funny.
What do you say? Hairy pussy.
We got smelly pussy. We got slimy. We got ball pussy. We got no flavor pussy. We got apple pie pussy. But then immediately, brothers just beat the shit out of this nigga. And what did he call? He's like, it's terrible. It's problematic. He's like, and this faggot kicked me while I was down. I was like, I was like, well, he did. When he's like, hey, how's it going? He's just kicking the shit out of him. So all of that's great. Let's see. So that's a great scene right there. What else do we have here? I think when we get there, I think it's a good scene. I don't know if it's super rewatchable in terms of what we're looking for that sticks out,
Right.
but you kind of see the dynamic. Like I said, when they got after he punched out Richie, when they first kind of get into Mexico, because Richie's kind of spiraling.
Yeah.
Like, hey, motherfucker, don't forget who I am.
Like it seemed like he take medicine and shit.
Absolutely. Because he was like, yeah, Seth, you want to talk about it while the border guard is there? And it's like, I got to knock this nigga out now. Mm-hmm. And what did Juliette Lewis say? Thank you. Because she knew she was in danger. Mm-hmm. He's a fucking piece of shit. When they drive there and Seth kind of switches to like a different person, he's like, I'm a good guy now. And which is what happens. Seth is an Aquarius. Can we just talk about that? But he was like, yeah, Richie, yeah, you kind of just hit your head, just blacked out. Must have been from the hand, because he got shot in the hand in the beginning. He's just like, I don't know, man. He's like, Richie, I'm in a good mood. Don't fuck this up. He says this to him, right?
Right.
And when they get there and they arrive and everything is copacetic, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, who's drinking? Hard drinkers, I'm buying. I was like, this is literally what I do.
Yeah.
So they get there, you have all the pussy stuff and all of that. So Harvey Keitel is like sticking up. He's like, you're having a drink with me. And it's like, this is cool. He sticks up for him. He's like, because what did Danny Trejo say? You can't drink in here.
Yeah, you're not a member of this bar.
And he's like, I can't drink here? This is a biker bar. Or a trucker bar and all of that. And then Harvey Keitel comes in there with the wild license. He's like, well, I'm a Class C driver, and that's a truck outside, so me and my friends can drink. I was like, hell yeah, do that shit. So we get Santana popping up, which is, it's Satanico. Salma Hayek's deliciousness pop up. And as that's happening, and she's doing the dance of seduction, right?
How old was she in this movie?
30. Right. Right. Let's not be creepy. Don't be Richie, because it's a lot. Rapey. It's a lot of feet.
He's more rapey than creepy.
It's a lot of feet.
Yeah,
that's one of Tarantino's things. Apparently, he likes feet.
I like feet too, but why
I don't like feet. He's drank. Okay, so let's take out all of his problematic. They're criminals. Keep them criminals, right? Do you want to be Richie when the tequila is running down her foot down into his mouth? Are you sucking feet?
No.
It's Salma Hayek though.
Maybe.
You got to be honest with yourself now.
Maybe.
Now, are you drinking it as it's running down her body now? Probably.
Yeah.
But you got snake skin flying in it too, because you had the snake on her a second ago.
Yeah.
But she's seducing you, and I'm just like, yeah, nigga, let's get it. Because you see how happy he's like, finally. Mm-hmm. But he's like, I hope he doesn't rape her, because Richie's a piece of shit.
Right.
And that's when it gets to the scene where Cheech and the gang come in, and then you have that iconic fight. He's like, this motherfucker, and they get into a bit of a fight. I think he gets stabbed in the hand and all of that different shit. And then that's why the hole is reopened. And then you get the vampire reveal.
Mm-hmm.
This piece of shit here, man, broke my finger and my nose. And this faggot kicked me in the ribs while I was down. Fuck off, Loki, man.
And that is fucking wild.
That shit happened quickly.
Yes, and they were ugly. They look like lizards, especially like I don't think Salma Hayek really was a vampire per se. She seemed like she was something a little bit more ancient, because she looked different from the rest of them.
Yeah, right.
She looked like a lizard person.
Mm-hmm.
And had one of the great lines in there. So you remember the sequence, and we're skipping a little bit, but the sequence where before Seth shoots the chandelier and it kills her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, welcome to slavery. And he's like, I already been married. He improvised that line, by the way. It wasn't a script. He improvised it. This is fire delivery.
Yeah, it was.
And you will lick the shit from my boot heel. I was like, I mean, you got a lot of licking in your history here.
I don't lick either.
I mean, I think Richie was licking boot shit. Yeah. You'll be a little dog. I'll call you Spot. It's like, fuck you. Richie returning that's a moment for me. I hate to admit it. So I was talking to the crew about this. She mentioned she's like George Clooney has this gun cocked so many times in this movie, and he's just holding it weird ways.
Yeah.
He never not has a gun in his hand,
Right.
Except for when he's out of bullets, but then he's using it as a hammer. So this is where they've killed all the vampires, and then Richie's goofy ass glow glow just gets up looking like Frankenstein's creature.
You touch my brother with that steak, biker, and vampires aren't going to have to suck your blood. They'll be able to lick it up off the floor.
How big was his head?
I was about to say, he looked like he got extra. His head got
He's big as
extra
shit.
bigger when he came back.
Now I'm gonna give you an opportunity to switch roles.
Okay.
That's me coming back from the dead. Mm-hmm. Are you doing the same thing that Seth did of, hey, motherfucker, I will shoot you. That is my brother. Or are you like, yeah, he got to go? How quickly are you making that choice? Is it going to be hesitation on your part?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yo, Rudy, he's big as shit. Like, we got to do
also
something.
like, I'm killing him, nobody else.
That's exactly like, look, because he's like, I got to give you the piece that I could not give you in life. Hold him down. And you got to take him out. And then his head was still like huge and shit when it was a skull. I feel like they were trolling Tarantino a little bit.
So too.
But then he wrote it. He's like, look, my head is big as shit. Let's just put that in there. Mm-hmm. He looked really young in the movie, too.
Yeah.
I think he was like 33 or 34.
Oh, yeah, he was young then.
Let's see. And so here's the thing. Clooney's a year older than him. They look like they're the same age. But Clooney looks, because his hair's a little gray.
Yeah.
He looks like a lot older. Mm-hmm. But they both, like, I think Clooney was born in 61. I think Tarantino was born in 62.
Okay.
So the vampire rules.
As far as God's concerned, we might as well all be a piece of shit, but he is one of the boys. Only one problem. His faith isn't what it used to be.
That's good because, again, Seth is doing what I would be doing, and after having to kill my brother, drinking.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, man, what's all that fucking shit, man? It's that sound. Yeah, it's bats. Huh? It's like...
How the fuck did he know it was bats, though? Like, it could have been anything.
Well, I think you can kind of tell when you hear bats. Like, you can kind of know when they're in your house and shit. They flap differently.
What was that? How, like, do bats got something to do with vampires?
Vampire bats. They turn into...
Oh.
Yeah. Because that's what those creatures were when they got in there. They may have been some ancient... I think it was a little different on the mythology. Maybe it's some Mexican mythology of, like, vampires and all. In terms of my most favorite things, those are my, like, kind of favorite scenes or what have you. And, yeah, the recap is always good when... that last scene after all of the murder and all of the self-sacrifice, and obviously only two people get out. Who are the two people to get out?
Seth and the daughter.
Yeah, they're the only two people to get out, and Seth immediately punches Cheech Marin in the face, and he's like, "The play was over. It's Dusk or Dawn," and he revealed the whole fucking movie. And I like when the whole plot is like revealed and the movie title is there. Mm-hmm. He's like, "One place is as good as the other."
But it also said when they first went to the bar, it also said open from dusk to dawn.
Yeah, but when you had the person tell you that, it's like, all right, cool. But,
Like, that's the only reason why you picked it?
Yeah, it's literally. He's like, you said you needed to meet a place, man. I was late. He's like, fuck you, man. I got beer, man. He's like, fuck this guy. So yeah, those are the scenes that I thought were the best. It's so many F-bombs in the movie. I don't know how to, because if you fucking fuck, I feel like that's something that's said more than one time in the movie. So what else in terms of maybe your favorite scenes, or did we get all of them?
You got all of them.
What's the matter with you? Are you crazy?
Why, out of all of the godforsaken shitholes in Mexico, do we have to meet here?
One place is just as good as another.
One of the grossest transformations was Tom Savini, Sex Machine, turning into a big rat. That shit was gross.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how you get two chances to turn, man? They cut your head off and shit. Also, can we talk about Frost snatching hearts? That shit was fire. He snatched that fat dude. Come here, monkey boy. And I was like, yeah. He called
really
him
did look like a monkey, though.
He called him monkey boy. No, monkey man. Come here, monkey man. That's some shit Daddy would say.
Yeah. But you see his face, he really did.
Yeah.
Like, he made the no.
But when they came back from the dead, just when Cheech Marin popped up smiling, I was like, oh, this is bullshit. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any final thoughts about From Dusk to Dawn? Anything that you want to chime in? Do you want people to watch it if they haven't? And where does this rank for you in terms of movies that you've watched? Like a lot. Like how many times do you think you've watched this movie? And
I don't know.
And watching it recently, how long has it been since the last time you watched it?
Oh, it been years. Like I don't even remember when the last time I watched it. Before.
Was it still as good as when you watched it last?
Yeah, I was tuned in.
Was it better because you knew you had to research for it a little bit?
It was. I had to pay attention to every little detail, parts I missed and all that. So I had to pay attention to it. Like, it worked. It was better.
And with the added context of doing this particular podcast and getting like some of those like little like factoids, do you feel like it added even more to it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, that's that. You know, I'm Rob Lee. He's young Rudo, and we're two mean mother scooters. And this was a podcast review of Dusk to Dawn, from Dusk to Dawn, and its 25th anniversary. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
Fuck you, everybody. Good night.